everybody, happy Saturday! Today is the 7th of January and this video is going to be Jodi telling you a bit about why she is not going to be the one carrying our baby.
So let me take you back. As a teenager, I would often get tonsillitis quite a lot. In 2010, I'd got a bad case of septic tonsillitis and it resulted in me having to be hospitalised for a few days. I got severely dehydrated and had to have intravenous antibiotics. And the doctors told me that I would need to have my tonsils removed to prevent me from getting tonsillitis in the future. When it got to the time for me to have my operation, I was also suffering with glandular fever or mono. I had a really rough time with the glandular fever. My lymph nodes swelled to the size of golf balls. I couldn't move my head properly, my neck was really sore. It got to the point where my head felt too heavy for my shoulders and neck. I had a lot of time off work with that as well. I worked in hospital with cancer patients, so not the best idea to be around them when you've got an infectious disease. Yeah. After the operation, from then on, my health gradually declined. I didn't feel better. I still had the glandular fever and the lumps were still really big. It took me about 4 weeks to recover from the operation, even though they said it would take no longer than 2 weeks. So during the time of me having my operation, I was off work for 4 weeks. And then after that, I did return to work for a few weeks until I felt really rubbish again and had to go off sick again. This time I spent quite a bit off of work because usually I would still go back to work even though I didn't feel well because of the pressure.
Yeah, you didn't want to lose your job, did you?
I didn't want to lose my job or let anybody down, and also my mum was getting worried that I might lose my job, and she was saying you have to try and go to work and, you know, just go, and if you don't feel well, come home. I didn't like to do that. I would stick it out if I would go to work. This particular time I remember going to work and I felt so bad that I passed out. Yeah. It was really bad, so I had to go home that day. So it got really bad and I started to have more time off of work. That's when I would go to the doctors persistently and start having a lot of tests done to find out what was wrong. So the doctors didn't know what it was, so I had to have a lot of blood tests to rule out certain illnesses such as diabetes, thyroid problems, and other common illnesses. So all the tests came back that I didn't have any of the things that they were testing me on. So they started to suspect that I might have chronic fatigue, or ME.
And ME, or myalgic encephalomyelitis, is a condition that affects your energy. It means that you become physically and mentally really fatigued, and it's not just like how you and I would get tired after a lot of exercise or something like that. It's a constant fatigue. You feel mentally and physically drained all the time, and no matter how much sleep you get, it doesn't make a difference. You don't feel refreshed, and it's also worsened after any kind of exertion. It doesn't have to be exercise or anything vigorous. It can just be getting up and walking across the room and you feel utterly exhausted. And they don't really know what it is that causes it. There's no cure for it. They don't really know what the best treatment is, and it's not very well understood within the medical field, let alone in the public. So it's very hard to deal with.
So when I went to the chronic fatigue specialist team, they eventually diagnosed me with chronic fatigue / ME. So at this time I was still employed, but I was still off sick. It was coming up to about a year that I was off sick. Yeah. Because of everything that was going on with me. Eventually my employer, they had to let me go. Obviously I was having a lot of time off work and I was deemed unfit to work. I then started to experience symptoms of pain in my legs. These gradually got worse. The pain then started to be in other areas of my body, like my lower back, my neck. I would often get a lot of migraines as well.
And it wasn't like pain from straining herself or injuring herself. It was, you know, she didn't do anything to hurt herself. She just gradually started to feel more and more pain in her body.
So again, I started to go back to the doctors.
Have more tests done, didn't you?
Yeah, have more tests done. It was at that time they referred me to a pain clinic. At the pain clinic, they asked me a bunch of questions about my symptoms and things like that. They diagnosed me with fibromyalgia.
So fibromyalgia is kind of related to ME or chronic fatigue, and it has similar symptoms with the fatigue and things, but the main issue in this condition is the pain, and the pain can be widespread all over your body. You can get it worse in certain areas, or it can be bad everywhere. And again, like the fatigue, it's a constant thing. You can have worse days where the pain hurts more, or okay days where you still have the pain but it's bearable. And Jodi experiences a lot of pain in her legs, so she finds it difficult to walk, and can't really do things that she used to like to do, like sports. She used to be really into playing football. She can't do that anymore, and sometimes the pain gets really, really bad. And there was a point where she was spending almost every day in bed in the beginning when she started getting the pains. So Jodi's pains are constant. She is in pain all the time, but doing things like exercise, any kind of exercise, walking, anything that wouldn't be strenuous to anybody else, makes it worse. And there aren't many things that make it better. She's tried a lot of different pain medications and nothing really seems to take the pain away at all. And she's tried other medications that are supposed to help with sending messages from her brain to her body to tell her that she doesn't need to be in pain, and those don't seem to work either. You've tried hydrotherapy, haven't you? Mm-hmm. And that just seemed to be too much effort and cause her too much fatigue for it to be worth it. So she didn't do that for very long because she wasn't feeling like she physically could. Again, the doctors don't really know that much about what causes it or how to treat it. There are treatments that they use and that work for some people, or that help at least, but up to this point there hasn't been anything that Jodi's tried that has helped her with her pains. So before Jodi was ill, she was a really outgoing and sociable person, and she was quite confident and liked to go out and spend time with friends. But as she has got worse, it's knocked her confidence, and the ME side of things also affects your cognitive ability, so it's difficult for her to concentrate or to remember things. So stuff like having a conversation with someone is really hard for her, and she has to try to concentrate really hard, and it takes a lot of her energy just to do something like that. So she has started to be less confident and less outgoing, less sociable, because it's difficult for her.
I also suffer really bad with short-term memory, so I often will be talking to Erin, and in the middle of a sentence I literally just switch off, and she's like, "What are you saying?"
Yeah, she forgets that she was even saying anything. She'll start a sentence and then halfway through she'll stop, and I'll be like, "What?" And she'll be like, what? And doesn't know that she was even talking to me. So it's really difficult. Socialising is really difficult, especially when there's more than one person. It's just too much for you, isn't it?
I know it might seem that I do a good job on vlogs, but obviously the magic of editing.
Yeah.
If you could see how long it took me to record this video, you'd be surprised.
Yeah. Jodi's condition also makes her very anxious and worry a lot more. She's always been a bit of a worrier, haven't you? But these days she worries a lot more than she used to, and it affects your life, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. She worries about her health mainly, that maybe there's something that the doctors are missing or that she's missing that's more serious or terminal even, that could be going on with her health, and it really affects her stress levels, and it makes her even more exhausted, which obviously she doesn't need. So this condition affects her in a lot of ways, and it's very difficult to live with, and it's a chronic condition that can go on forever. It may never end. She may start to get better, which we hope will happen, but she may not, and she may just have to live with it. And you do such a good job of living with it, and I'm so proud of you. She manages so well, and she still pushes through. She's such a determined person, and she doesn't let it stop her from enjoying her life.
I went through a really bad point where I was depressed and I wasn't getting out of bed until you got me, Joey, my first dog, who really helped me come out of the depression. It gave me something to look after and not think so much about what's going on with me, because I had to have my attention on him.
Yeah, I think the dogs are a big help as well. They get her out of bed in the morning and encourage her to keep moving even though it's hard. And they're a joy for you, aren't they, because you love them so much. So because this condition affects Jodi so much, she's still not able to go back to work as much as she would love to, because she is, like I said, a determined person, and she works really hard when she can work. So she's not able to work, and she's not able to do a lot of the things that she used to be able to do, or a lot of things that you and I can do. And for that reason, obviously carrying a baby would be too much for her body to handle. It's emotional stress, and as well as stress on your body. So it doesn't make sense for you to carry the baby, does it?
No.
And I've always wanted to have babies myself. And I think I've always thought that I would carry a baby at some point in my life, even before I even knew that I was gay. When I was young, I used to think about having babies. So it makes sense for us that it would be me who's the one to carry our baby.
So it took me a while to decide to do this video. It's a bit of a touchy subject. It's hard for me to talk about, really. But like anything, it needs its awareness. There's probably people out there that might be suffering like I am, and not even know they have it yet.
And because not even medical professionals know that much about this, I think it's important for us to talk about it, and for anybody else who is experiencing it to talk about it and spread the awareness, to make people pay attention and start to look into it, do more research, and try and find treatment that works better and improve people's lives, because there are a lot of people that suffer with this. I'm sure you may have heard of it before, and we know there's people all over the world that are suffering with this, because we're members of a few support pages on Facebook and things. So I think it's important to talk about.
Yeah.
So if any of you have heard of fibromyalgia or ME, and any of you are suffering with it, or you know someone who is, then we'd love for you to leave a comment below. Tell us how you deal with it. Tell us if there's anything that helps you, or tell us about the people that you know that have it. We'd love to hear. If you're interested, we will link the Facebook page that we mentioned a minute ago, the support page, down in the description box, so you can go and have a look at that. So we would love for you to share this video with your friends or on your social media, just to help spread a bit of awareness and show people that if they're suffering with these conditions, they're not the only one. There's people out there who also know what they're going through, and they can find support. And just because you can't physically see this condition, the condition is an invisible condition, it doesn't make it any less important or any less real. We know this video wasn't the most uplifting, but we hope you liked it anyway, and you learned a little bit more about Jodi and about why I'm the one who's going to carry the baby.
Also, I wanted to tell you guys about this because sometimes I might not be in a vlog. I might be too ill to be in one, although I will try my best to plough through for you guys and, you know, say hi, at least.
Yeah.
But you're not going to start vlogging.
Yes.
So it might just be Erin that you see.
So thank you for watching. We hope you subscribe and follow us with our journey. We would love to have you and have your support. If you did like this video, then give it a like, and like I said, please share it so you can spread some awareness too. and leave us a comment down below. You can comment about this, or you can give us some suggestions for videos you'd like to see, and we will see you in the next one.
See you guys.
Bye!